about make, making it more like a better workplace for employees and all this. And then in the preparation, I thought already, it would probably be good to share with people what kind of leaders are there already. But I have to admit, it is kind of difficult to find birth data. And as you and I, we like behind the scenes, we were already talking about it, how good it is and how necessary for leaders to know about choose their employees even based on their qualities, based on the birth chart. It is definitely difficult to find that information. So when you want to even find out public people, we know Elon Musk, for example, as one of the examples that I found, he's a Cancer, and Cancer is all about caring. And I mean, you would think like, okay, he's all about Starlink and high technology and Tesla cars and all this. But interestingly, yeah, he does care. He has a caring side, and that definitely speaks for it. And he does things like exposing a lot of files that are good for the people to know about, that have been going on behind closed doors and that were against humans, kind of taking advantage. And then one other example of a modern person is LeBron James, and he's a Capricorn. So
Oh,
you know, he's this basketballer, but he has definitely a business mind, and he created a school, I Promise School, for children, like children from neighborhoods that are not so well off or so. And I thought that was cool. And then just the third one that I came up with is Brigitte Bardot, who's also still alive, but she's like almost 90. And she is very, I mean, she became super famous and influential, but she dedicated a lot of her income to saving animals. So there we
wow.
see there are a lot of people, a lot. I mean, I give three examples, but I know that there are a lot more that are doing good things for the world.
You know what I find interesting about all of those examples are so different, but they share one common thread, which is heart,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
And they work like, for example, LeBron James, basketballer, business mind. Elon Musk, caring. He's creating products around the environment, environmentalism, and then exposing files. But I think also when you think about any type of leader, it it kind of, for me, sometimes the zodiac signs can determine an absolute leader, like a Leo. Like
Hmm.
Leo people are natural leaders.
Hmm.
Um, and I work with Leo, and they are definitely like, they're very kind of leadership oriented, and they like
Yeah.
to, if they delegate, right, if they
Yeah.
delegate their services, then it's good for them because they tend to take on a lot. But I
Mhm.
also think sometimes the zodiacs are interesting because they don't always really deep down to share what's happening in the heart of that person. And this is why I say this, not that I'm, because zodiacs are still very important to me. I say this because um, heart-centered leadership is lacking.
Oh yes, because of course we have been in a very Capricornian era. That means with Pluto in Capricorn, and it was more about
Well
money
said.
and materialism and all this. And the
Well
male
said.
have to be tough. Even women in business, they can be tough, and they can be tough, and they were wearing business suits and all this. But it's really about now getting away from the material, because we see how unimportant it becomes when it gets to your freedom. What does
Yes.
it help if you're getting slaves, like you're being slaved, you're taken care, like advantage of by your government, and you're
Yes.
just, you keep a little bit of your income, and most of it is taxes on your salary, taxes on this, on that, on that. And so people realize it's really not that important anymore what kind of car we drive, or does it have to be designer clothes, or maybe something more practical for life quality.
I like, see, and I like the way you weave that in because we're coming out of that Capricorn era, moving into Age of Aquarius. And, Aquarius, can you elaborate a little bit more about the Age of Aquarius? And we can
Yes.
talk a little
Yeah.
bit more about that
Yeah.
because that's going to shift a lot
Yes,
of our
exactly.
systems. Like our systems are very rigid based
Right.
on ego, and
Right,
and
exactly.
and Aquarius right now, it's going to be, the systems are going to be disrupted and softened a little
Mm,
bit. I don't know
Um,
how that's going to happen.
I would probably rather call it clarified, not softened necessarily, because you can still be strong in Aquarius. We have um there is an aspect of danger though, because whatever we use, like whatever sign there is, you can use it for like Libra, you can become lazy or you can become you beautify and you harmonize. So in Aquarius, we have to be careful that we don't become too scientific and forget about our heart, because the opposite sign of Leo is the heart, is loving and passion and these traits. But so Aquarius, the opportunity that we have is really being detached from the ego and wanting to win at every chance and taking advantage of the others. So because we see we're in the end, we are all in the same boat. And so it's all about equality and leadership in the company of the future. Hopefully, the opportunity for that is being on eye level. It's not really, oh, you are under me and you have to report to me, and playing this also out, because in the old way, the patriarchic flair kind of was there. So the boss was letting you know that he's on top of you, and keeping people, also keeping the employees in a small box so they don't think out of the box. Aquarius and your Uranus, they're totally the contrary. It's like really inviting even to think out of the box and to evolve and become better and for the good of all. It's really beehive thinking, and we're all in this together. So it's networking in terms of root systems. So the rhizome that is connected, like the tree that is, okay, you go in the depth, yes, but you're branching out far as the canopy of the tree on top. So it's really networking, but in brothership, there's more brothership in terms of how we are connected with each other versus the top-down treatment. So that's the beauty in Aquarius that I see.
I love that. Like, because now when you boil down to it, like you're going to see companies um, uh, really looking at their systems and what type of leader. Now, I know like leadership to me is not position, it's action. And any star sign can do that, right?
Yeah,
Some of them
yeah,
are more inclined to it,
yeah,
but leadership is not going to be any more so than a position that I am the CEO, I'm the founder of my
yeah,
company, and that's what I am, and I'm going to
exactly.
look down at everyone. We're all entering this unity. We should be generally moving into this age of unity
Yeah,
consciousness because we need to work together.
right.
Um, and
That's it,
I think,
networking and teamwork, and that's it exactly. And you
right?
know what, you're making a good point there, because it's really not about what zodiac sign is maybe stronger as a leader, but it's really what is the business about. So, and I
Yes.
came up also like, okay, so look at the signs. And for example, I don't know, do you feel like we should go over the 12 signs real quick and just give bullet points what would be good business areas?
Sure. I think that just as a practical kind of tag to it, sure.
Yeah. So when you are in business in like in an Aries, let's see how should we frame it? It's not about being an Aries in business, but if your enterprise or your business, whatever you're about, is about Aries, then the networking will be the same. So the networking in the future will be teamwork and brotherhood
Yes.
and
Yes.
horizontal structuring in the company. But then, so Aries, everybody who is in like even fashion for masculine, like anything masculine, I would say, athletics, anything that is bold, expeditions, mechanic stuff, everything that works with iron. And I don't even want to mention the what is that, the war industrial, the industrial industry, because
Yeah.
that is, I mean, I think that we humans get to the point that we don't do this anymore because we're just sick of it. What happens now with these two wars still going on, that we say, hey, we're not playing this anymore. We are out. Sorry. If you want to do war, then leaders go and have it yourself. But so I don't talk about these like war and drug and weapon producing industries, but I talk about iron, because you can do good things with iron, like beautiful gates for your garden door and anything to do with cutting. So Taurus is Venus driven. So that would be anything natural, anything with nature,
Mhm.
and anything that is simple. So your business, when you do, like when you want to simplify things or simple products that are based on natural ingredients, anything aesthetic because of the Venus aspect, or the Venus in there, anything farm related, and like farming and the food that we bring on the table based on farms, like fruits and veggies, anything talent also, when you work with, like when you want to promote talent, or so, like a talent
Yes.
agency, that's beauty and Venusian and Tauran, beauty and the arts. And then Mercury. So when you are in a company that is kind of like in the Mercury scene, then you would naturally tend to be working with reporters, teaching, communications,
Mhm.
logistics, anything that connects others, like seekers and offerers of products or
Yes.
services, like agencies, talent agencies, or uh, like even matchmaking or so. Let's see what
Yes.
else. Anything
That's so
social.
beautiful. Wow. That's so beautiful. Keep going.
Gossiping shows. So if you want to just do like what is that word, satire and gossip shows, like for just for fun, or counseling, because that's also about communicating. And then the Cancer kind of businesses are in the care industry. It's all about food, it's about restaurants,
Mhm.
dealing with antiques. So if you have an antique store, then you're Cancerian, or like Cancerian infused is a better word.
I
And
love it.
and security oriented, because the Cancer has the crab has the shell, the house on its back. And then the next one, the Leo-oriented businesses would be anything arts related, anything, yeah, leadership definitely, in the theater world and play and drama. It is about risk taking. So
Yes.
investments maybe. So if you're in the investments, then you're Leonian business, and no matter what your personal sign is, like your zodiac sign is as the leader, it is really what you bring, like what your business is about. And then God, Virgo is the nursing. It is about bookkeeping, services of any kind. That is like bringing services, being of service and doing something practical and useful.
Yes.
It's detailed and precision work. It's also teaching, and it is analysis. That means, and yeah, data analysts or business analysts. Libra would be arts and beauty again, because also it's ruled by Venus. Then anything aesthetics and anything related to women. So working with women, and
Wow.
also diplomacy. So it's really bringing peace. So that can be also in partnership, like counseling, relationships counseling, or therapy. Harmony, staging. So in the real estate business, for example, beautifying a house to get it better, so to bring it on the market. It's anything that is about creating peace and harmony. And then and socializing also. It's about connecting and connecting with people and socializing. It is then the next one would be Scorpio, and that's surgeons. So anything when you're like a surgeon or so, then you're automatically, your business will be affected by Plutonian energy. So you're in the Plutonian Scorpio area. And it's also
Wow.
about investigation. So if you're doing private investigation or investigative journalism, it is about purification of soil, of anything, of even if you do therapy, also like deep psychology, purifying the soul, or getting working out trauma. It's all about underground work. That means it can be like tunnel systems and undertakers, or digging for minerals, because you're getting the gems out of the earth. And also spying goes in that, but it's also the investigative uh, area there. So the next one is then the Sagittarius. That is anything when you're doing preaching in your business, when it's about preaching, you're a pastor even, or whatever, and travel, exotic, far places. It is about higher education and anything faith-based and
Mhm.
truth-based. Like if you want to get to the truth seeking, and religious endeavors. It's about publishing, because it's really not only writing like letters between people, but it is publishing a book so a lot of people can read it at the same time. And it's then the next one is the Capricorn that we mentioned
Yes.
briefly. Anything that when you do like strategizing in your work, it's when you're doing planning for others, it's structuring, it is architecture is falling into that arena also, and building, developing neighborhoods and cities, or like, yeah, building, developing any kind of whatever has to do with a foundation and a structure. It is chiropractic I would include there, and dentists I would
Wow.
include there also. And then Aquarius, which is this whole new energy that we are getting to experience with Pluto. And I mean, Pluto, yeah, Pluto is the big player in Aquarius right now, but it's really this whole area, and we're dealing with it for the next 20 years, and that will be high tech, science, astrology goes in that also, and humanitarian work. So it's really about the human.
Mm.
And then so the last one is Pisces. So when you're in a Pisces business, then, or Piscean business, then you're dealing with anything spiritual. So you're running an ashram, or
Wow.
film industry also, because it's all about a filmmaker has a dream and he turns it into a movie to bring a message out. So glamour goes in there also, and dream work. So therapy with dream work. So just a quick rundown. And yeah, so it's more about what kind of business are we in? And then, as you say, everybody can become a thoughtful leader and caring leader, as we see with Musk, for example.
Exactly. And how do you, when you have certain characteristics that have been developed over time, um, based, I would say we return a little bit back to ego, and everybody needs ego to survive. How
Mhm.
would any leader now, no matter what zodiac sign they are, how would they return back to a more heart centered leadership, in your opinion? Are they, is there, they need to have a more aware, they maybe perhaps a developed awareness about their personality characteristics based in their zodiac, and then working with that awareness as a leader in their company?
Mhm.
How do you see that? Like for
Yeah.
me, if someone is aware, like I'm very aware of what my birthday is, what my characteristics are,
Mhm.
what I need to work on, and if I am to be a leader, what would help me to thrive and what would not help me to thrive
Yeah,
as a
that's
leader?
a really good point, Roshni. Because when you look at Steve Jobs, for example, he had definitely a
Yes.
reputation that he was not a good leader, right? He was not a good communicator. So he
Oh,
really had that reputation, and you know about it. And as you mentioned with the Leo people, so they just find someone that they can delegate to. So you find a trustworthy person. The first step, though, is what I think is just get rid of this fear of astrology, and it's like a pseudo science or whatever. It's just
right.
cycles. It's just, based on how we have been looking at it, the old Sumerians, that's where it goes back to. And a lot of very famous leaders, like even going back to Cleopatra, Hammurabi, and I wrote down Tiberian and Hadrian. They were emperors and they applied astrology. So first step is really get rid of this whole dogma that we are put in, because it is a powerful tool. If you know the cycles, then you can deal with them. So that's the first step. Okay, I notice I have these weaknesses, and then I could, even in meetings, I could tell my staff, so and say, like, so this is really not my strength, and I think that you XYZ, you are really strong in that. I would ask you to fill that need in our organization, so we all thrive together, because that's what everybody wants. Because when the company is doing well, the employees are doing well, and if they feel treated well, they want to come to work and they don't call in sick. They feel really acknowledged and useful in this place.
Yes.
And that's what it takes, I think. And as I said, no matter what the sign is, if somebody gets to the point of creating a company, there must be already this drive to wanting to succeed and being above just a factory worker, or just um, pulling gasoline at a gas station or so for others, or being like bagging groceries at a grocery store. So those people already have a drive to put something into place, a business that that provides a space that other people can find work also. So it's all about community there. And if I see, okay, we all have certain traits that we bring to the table, and then let's make sure we don't waste talent. That's a big part. That's, I think, is the key word, wasting talent, because somebody is declared that position. You cannot do anything else that is maybe a little higher, because then I would have to pay you a higher wage or whatever. So that structuring, I think that will go through a lot of that will go through an overhaul in terms of like also payments, because in the same moment we are seeing the financial system crumbling. And I think that a lot will happen there, that people realize, okay, when we want to function, we have to give back to the world. And so
Yes, I think that's so beautiful the way you frame that as well, because you're really looking at not only a particular zodiac, but you're also looking at zodiacs as being part of the intra fabric of humanity. That is, it's this is something that's been used over millennia. And one of our first parts, or one of our first talks with you, dealt with the history of
mm,
zodiac signs. And this is not new information, but
mm,
I believe that information about astrology and zodiacs can not only inform the relationships and teams we build, and
mm,
not just based on skill sets, because that's also important, but then looking and building teams of people that you know can work together along with the
oh
skill
yeah,
sets, and their personalities are going to gel with yours, so that you can develop your leadership ability not as a top down leader, but as
mm,
part of that team. And I think people being aware, like that comes in, since even meeting you, I
mm,
when I meet and collaborate with different people, there's a certain respect that comes into play when I say, oh, I'm working on a series right now for women, as you know, and
mm.
she is a Cancerian. I know
Oh,
exactly what
yeah,
she's. I well, and I have to be careful because it's not a judgment, but
mm, it's true.
Cancerians have their
Yeah,
idiosyncrasies, as do Virgos, as do
mhm,
Geminis, as do Aries and Capricorns,
yeah,
and that's where you don't pigeonhole people, but you learn to be compassionate and
right.
empathetic
Yeah,
and use this, not
yeah,
always this. You need a combination of both to work in a
yes, yep.
successful company, right? You can't
Mm,
just always be with my heart everywhere, because that's not always going to get things done. It has to be a
exactly.
combination, and it
Yeah.
has to have um, a nice balance between the two. And
Mm,
it just boils down to respecting the other person and
yes. Yeah.
understanding where they're coming from, and moving them away from uh, even their own. I would even pull in their own pain and traumas, so that their ego can relax a little bit in the
Mm,
workplace. Instead of being in survival mode, you
mhm.
want to be in survival mode, right?
Right, right. And it's so true. I mean, it's not about putting people into drawers and stigmatizing them or so, exactly.
Yes.
And because we all have a moon somewhere, and we all have a Saturn somewhere, and this is, I mean, how we work it. And reading the other or understanding the other, reading does not really make the point, but understanding the other, seeing the other is so important. And in personal relationship, I mean, it helped me so much when I got really deep into relationship, into astrology, and I was in a relationship. I saw my partner so much different. I could understand, and I understood he cannot be different. So what am I expecting? And so if you give yourself a reality check there, so if it's really about having an employee, for example, that you know is a Piscean, and nothing against Piscean, but they do not find it important to stick to a very minutious, like a minute broken down to the minute agenda. They don't like that. They take differently. They have a different you know, it's how you use the talent that's really important. And I know some Piscean also, they manage because they have the Virgo balance. They have placements that make that totally breaks it even, and they can manage and they can structure and they are totally on time and all this, so that it can work. But the general, based on when you really look at many people and like this, the archetypal expression of that sign, for example, it is what it is. And if you know it, then you cannot expect an apple tree to produce pears. So that saves you time and disappointments, I would say, in relationship and also in the workplace. And also, I think it's important in the workplace, like among colleagues, to see like, okay, we cannot probably vibrate harmoniously with everyone, not
Correct.
necessarily. If you just accept that, and as you say, just respect the person as they are, and you don't have to go out with them and have lunch breaks with them when you don't vibrate. But it's really about seeing what do we want to accomplish at the end of the day? What is the company about? And who are our clients, who we serve, and do we do it well, even though you and I are not like the X and Y are not communicating well. So do they have to communicate in the business to make it all functioning, or can they be in different offices even? Especially if it's a bigger office, you cannot make sure that all the employees are harmonious among each other. But I think that a conscious leader who accepts their cycles and their astrological qualities of science and others, if they accept it, they can create an atmosphere that is really supportive. And with that, also in the research for today, I thought of businesses. So what businesses are really standing out, that are really good and that have a reputation of being good workplaces, but where people really, they are proud of working at? Trader Joe's was one of them.
Oh,
And I
wow.
thought, so maybe I can find out, do you have Trader Joe's in Canada also?
No, they were. That's interesting. You said that because in the last 3 or 4 weeks, they are looking for additional grocery chains to compete with the ones we have here, which are kind of limited.
Yeah.
And Trader Joe's came up, and they said, "No, we don't. We actually don't want to come to Canada." That's what they
Okay.
said.
I didn't get that. Interesting. That is
But
interesting.
they have a good reputation, and the reason
Yes.
is they're very one of the examples in the article was so interesting that when somebody goes in and asks for help,
Mhm.
it's like a genuine
Yes.
interaction.
That's the whole thing. That is such a keyword, the genuine action and interaction with each other. That's it,
Yes.
exactly. So they treat their employees well, and they have the CEO. I thought, oh, maybe I can look at the CEO, and that gives us some insight about what is his sign and all this. But that's when I
Mhm.
said it's so difficult to find information. They say even the year circa 1947 or so. So we know the ones that is the CEO that is exiting, he's retiring, is that age. So 47, so that's like my mom's age, 76. And then
Oh,
so the
wow.
incoming CEO, we don't know, but he has been with the company for 20 years, so he will likely keep the energy and the culture in the company going. And so that's definitely something to look at. And that so the other thing that I look that is interesting also, I should start there. When you and I started looking into these topics and all this, we figured, yeah, we know about astrology, and you and I, we are applying it and all this, and we know many leaders like Ronald Reagan did, and a lot like Queen Elizabeth had her astrologer. So why is it so ridiculed? And it is about the power of it. And if the common person has a lot of power and in planning and all this, and knowing what the leader, like when the leader has a weak spot, so the folk, the people, the what is that, like the common people, so they knew about it, they could turn over, they could plan a coup d'etat because they
Yeah.
know the leader is in a weak phase, you know. So that's
Mm.
why it is taken away from everyday people, and it is ridiculed. And they, I think on purpose, they are like charlatans that that mistreat astrology, and they put it in a bad light.
Yeah.
But if you are really looking into it and you see it's neutral cycles, and in economics, I mean, we know that Saturn is contraction and Jupiter is expansion. And
Mhm.
in any, I mean, any industry, you have, like in the real estate market, for example, you have times, cycles, where these two come together and they build a new cycle, and it's a 20-year cycle. And so if you plan with that and look at the natural cycles, and even if you're launching your company and you're thoughtful about it and you're choosing a time that is without a Mercury retrograde, and that has not a void of course moon, which is it's a jargon, astrological jargon, and it's only saying that the moon is in a sign for 2.5 days. And so when the moon is towards the end of the sign and it doesn't make any other contact, it is said to be void of course, and it doesn't have long lasting or staying power in terms of your enterprise, if or your endeavor, you're launching
Wow.
a product or your company. So that I would suggest to look into that, and really there's nothing to lose, really. I mean, if you want to just pay an astrologer, or even you look into the, like, a planner, there are planners that everybody can buy for like $10. They show you what the sign of the moon is and when the void of course phases are. So that will be helpful for planning your events, and also when you want to when you want to acquire business, or when you want to slim down, like when the moon is waning, so we do everything that we want to get rid of, like losing weight or whatever. And that is when we maybe have to minimize our staff or so. We should also look at what kind of moon phase is it, and those little things that we can start experimenting with when we are in a leadership position, and then gain the trust, because it is definitely all about cycles.
And so, can you return a little bit back towards cycles? Because I think people sometimes they look at cycles as they may not even consider cycles, right? They might not even the awareness. So can you review that again, like the
Yeah,
cycles around? So
mm,
like if there's a waning moon,
yeah,
what else should people consider when they're, especially a business leader, when you're planning, especially in Mercury retrograde? And I know you've
yeah,
taught me Mercury retrograde doesn't mean you don't do anything.
right,
And
exactly.
everybody shuts down and goes to the Bahamas for
Mm,
5 weeks until the retrograde is. I mean, that would be nice not to do
mm.
anything, but
Yeah, right.
that's not the
Three or four
reality,
times a
right?
year, party, or like a taxation and hanging in the hammock. Yeah, but this is the thing, really. There are many retrogrades. So all planets except Sun and Moon have retrograde phases. And
Yeah,
so when you're, like, you say you're creating a high-tech business, which is under Uranus,
yeah,
then you want to make sure that Uranus is not retrograde, because retrograde is an illusion, first of all. Of course, it's no planet does go retrograde. It's only when we are on Earth looking, and we're looking out to this planets, and we have the fixed stars in the background, so the constellation. So it looks as if we are faster, and because we are closer to the sun, and we're like in an inner orbit. We are in a more inner lane on the highway of the cosmic highway, if you want, and we're looking over to Uranus. It seems as if he's falling back if we look against the backdrop of the constellations. And in those moments, when a planet hovers over a degree, for example, when it stations is when it slows down to go retrograde, it appears to hover over the degree in the zodiac, and then
yes,
it makes it more potent. So the energies are more. It's like a burning glass when you have the sun shining on a magnification glass, and you have a piece of paper underneath. You can even set it on fire. So that is a powerful time. And in terms of Mercury retrograde, I think in any business, we need to communicate. We want customers and
yes,
busyness. So we want to be busy with customers, and business is about, like, the old scribes, they had to be able to count and read, to take, what is it, like the word tally, take note and tally and write the loading papers for the ships. So in that, we need our logical mind. For that, we need, of course, in business, we need to have a functioning Mercury. And Mercury retrograde is really good for catching up with projects and organizing your desk and all this. But
Correct.
in business, we rather want to have it active. And as I said, if it's a specialized business that is, for example, a beauty salon or so, you want to make sure that Venus is forward and on speed, because when you do it the same day when Venus turns direct, Venus is not yet to speed. So it is better if you can put it that Venus is on speed and going a degree a day. And those little things. The other, so those are phases, right? And then the so the moon phases, you have like quarters. So you have the new moon, and that is usually when we start a new project, and then we
Yes.
come to the full moon, which is the culmination, and that shines the light. How are we doing with, is our seed, is it coming? Do we see like the first green tip of it coming out already, or do we have to give more water to the plant, or more do we have to put it more in the sun, or we have to tend to it, and so we are reaching those points in the whole wheel until the moon is back to the original point of the new moon. So those are the phases when, like, the synodic cycle from the moon back to the new moon, which is the moon and the sun conjunct. And then the same goes with the other. And I hope it's not too technical now, but I think also important will be that as a business owner, if you want to look at not only phases, but if you have pushing questions, like let's say you are in the investment business or so, election charts they're called the election charts when you find the best moment for buying a stock or so, or if you're in real estate, for buying this property in order to rehabbing it and putting it back on the market. So then you choose an election chart because you look, how's the moon doing? How is in terms of, um, yeah, I mean, there's what else would I look after for in terms of selling homes? Cancer is the, so I want to, yeah, home is again, Cancer is again moon, so
Yes.
the moon is super important in real estate. And also in food business. So there you want to make sure that the moon phase is also not applying to a malefic, so-called malefic. And I hope it's not too technical. Malefics are the planets that the ancients considered bringing hardship. But on the other hand,
Yes.
like Saturn and Mars, Mars is the, like, a fighting planet. It brings strife, but it is also giving you courage. So it's really not to say that, oh, we have to make sure that Mars is like super passive in the chart. In some aspects, you like in some considerations in electing a chart, choosing a chart, then you want to make sure that also you have Mars, like when it is something that is about speed or about courage and about strength and fast-paced, yeah, courage, anything to do with courage. And so those factors, I don't want to call it aspects, but those factors you should consider, and then have your election chart. And then the other thing is, if you have like a all of a sudden, out of the blue, you get a curveball thrown that your stock plummets or so. Usually, I mean, you probably, if you're in that business, then you probably know and you see it coming on the horizon already, that, oh, this could be careful with that stock or so, or careful with that company, and get rid of the stocks quickly. But if a surprise thing comes up and you have to deal with something, like you find out an employee stole or whatever, and what am I doing? How am I reacting? There is a chart, it's called horary. So you're basically having a pushing question in the moment, and then you're casting a chart for that, and that gives you an a hint of like, okay, what to look for. So there are definitely astrologers that can go in the detail, and they know exactly, like they can even talk about directions. If you lost something, you lost an item, you lost a car, got stolen, you have a car rental company and somebody took off with your car, and you want to find the whereabouts of the vehicle or so, then you can even pin down the direction, geographic direction. So it's really powerful. And so they have been using it in the past, and so if you know that, or let's say you are applying for a job, and the ascendant of that horary chart is if is only 3 degrees, then you know, oh, it's too early, I should wait. It's not, I'm rushing, it's too early. And if it's 27 degrees of the sign, and you know you have 30 degrees in the sign, 3 is like really weak, it's really early, so it's too early. 27, for example, is too late. So you can time things better.
See,
Or
the timing piece of what you're saying, like a conscious
Mm,
leader, I'm saying to myself, somebody who's currently in a leadership position would be like, I don't have time to look at horoscopes and to build teams around the idiosyncrasies of the strengths and weaknesses of
mm,
zodiacs. I don't have the time to do that.
that's
So,
a good point.
how can we become a conscious leader without holding our company hostage to either ego or to zodiac or to the heart? Now, I mean, to me, I don't have an answer, but you're looking at heart-centered leadership. You're
Mm,
bringing in conscious leadership. You also need ego to help
yeah.
ego can teach as well, right? It's a
Yes,
teacher.
yes,
It's the
it can
shadows.
also.
How's the company thriving or is it
Yes.
not? And but we can't be so obtuse that we can't balance
Mhm.
all three. Like what are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
So
Like
first of all, I would say also the ego is important because it's as I said, it's dignity, it's your brand, it's your identity as a company. And I think when we trust, what is that called? Like an estate planner, and like a bookkeeper, we have to trust these people, that a tax accountant, that's what I was looking for. So if we do that, um, I think that it would be useful to hire, at least for important decisions, hire an astrologer. You don't have to do it yourself because it takes a lot of study, I have to say.
it does.
Yes, and
That's why I love listening to you. It's knowledge. You have a lot
yeah,
of knowledge
yes,
and it's not woo woo. There are structured charts as you've shown me
totally.
that can show the
Yeah,
placements, that can
yeah.
show the phases.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's a technique. It's a technique. It's a science, as much as like meteorology is a science also. So, and it's based on also planetary, like the planets are affecting the weather. Like Uranus is
Yes.
known for being responsible for earthquakes, and Mars for fires, and the two of them
Yes.
are like really shaking up the earth. So I think it's definitely it's an advantage to look more into astrology, and find a trustworthy astrologer, read their biography, check their websites. And I think that the more we are exposed to fake news and fake this and fake that, we humans develop a sharper sensor, like a feeling sensor, that we have if somebody tells us BS, that we are more and more learning to read through this,
Yes.
and get to the, like, and understand the person, like, and even guessing up to the point of probably guessing their ascendant or so, because the ascendant usually is easier to guess than the sign, because the sign is the essence and the ascendant is more obvious to the people out there. So I think that definitely, so even if we don't read the signs yet, or like, hey, you look like a Taurus, or because physiognomy also talks about our signs,
Sure.
because yeah, so I think that we humans are on purpose to survive and thrive in these times that we are faced with so much lie and corruption in the
Mhm.
in the process of crumbling down the old structures that have not been serving the humans, but only a few that are taking advantage of the mostly of the humans, that we are able more to use these yeah, sensors to feel out the other person. So in the same way, we can feel, can I trust that person with the astrology reading? Get a reading for yourself first, and then feel like, okay, does it ring true with me, or does it sound like they are reciting from, or they're using a software only to interpret my chart. And with that, if some leader or business owner wants to maybe launch a new product, to just make an experiment and see, like, does it, you know, I mean, here's the thing also, a lot of business and website owners, they already make experiments with using AB, what is that called? Oh God, optimization.
Oh,
So
it's
you,
SEO, yeah. Hmm.
yeah, SEO, and so you're even like conversion. This is a big thing. A lot of, I mean, a lot of tech companies offer that service. So you have a landing page, and then you have a B version of that landing page, and you test out which one works. So if you launch a product maybe, and you want to base it on astrological insights in terms of timing, and then versus maybe just launching it at a time that maybe even you want to make it on purpose at a disadvantage time, to just see the results, like in terms of how is it accepted by the customers, or how long does it stay, or how well is the sales going, or whatever, and just experiment with that. And I think when people practice on themselves or experiment with themselves, getting their feet wet, then they are more likely to look at astrology as a tool, even in serious business.
And I think too, you hit on something really important, that when you are in a world that's illusory and not always based on truth, your astrology is, there is truth to it. There are, you are, there's truth to it. So if you really, and if you practically apply that
Mhm.
to employees in an organization, and you're a conscious leader and you're aware that you have 15 Virgos on a team, which would be very scary. That way, can you imagine that?
Or
Oh my God.
efficient, or efficient. Very efficient.
But if you, that ability to see, okay, you know what, I just hired a Virgo. Can you imagine having your star, your chart read like you read for me, as part of a job interview process, so
I,
that the
mhm.
facade comes down?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're still going to have some survival mode because you need to
yeah.
learn about your new role, you need to, but the facade comes down, and what does it bring forth? Truth. It brings
Hmm.
forth authenticity,
Hmm.
and it brings forth a more, an organization that can actually see people for who they are, not what only they can do, right?
This is so beautiful, Roshni. This is so beautiful, because that, I mean, there are definitely still people that they hold the cards to their chest. They don't want to. I don't want you to
Right,
know about me, and
right.
especially in this country. I mean, I'm born in Germany, and we step up to the person and say, "Hey, how old are you?" But here they look at you. If I ask someone how old they are, you cannot ask this here
Yes.
in the US,
Yeah.
and it's just out of curiosity, and we don't mean bad or so. I don't want to like take advantage of a person because I know how old they are. But that's exactly the point. When we know about it, that transparency is coming, and I think we can just not
There you
avoid
go.
it, because we're all evolving, and that would be super helpful, and eliminate also people that are not playing an open, like an honest game.
Right. And you can, and we don't, we need more of that honest, more rooted sense of self. And
Hmm.
I understand that definitely, whether it's a male or female, you have to do inner work as well. Like, the organization is not going to mold your existence completely, from the inside. The inner work also has to take place,
Yeah.
but just on a personality level. And you also touched on something called energy,
Mm,
which is one of my passions, that the energy of someone who's authentic and who is not wearing a mask
mm,
is so beautiful and
yeah,
so, um, needed in organizations where people are just stressed out, and they are there just to get a paycheck and come home. And
yeah.
there's a lot of that, right?
Yep.
because it's in survival mode. The system is no longer thriving around its people. The system is thriving around the bottom line. And that's not the way companies should be actually supporting their people. They should be supporting their people by allowing them to be who they are and in the most conscious way,
Mm,
and not in a way that and you also said that that keeps them in a box and they keep their cards to themselves and they just
mm,
go to work and come home, go, and that's basically what it's come down to. And
yeah.
astrology is such a beautiful way to be authentic and
Yeah.
to also rise into
Yeah.
best self, I would say.
Fulfillment, exactly. Find fulfillment, and that's when astrology really is so useful, because when we are not fulfilled, we're getting frustrated. And what happens when we get frustrated?
There you
We
go.
ferment it, we push it down, and it comes out
Yes.
as a term, like like visible in terms of
Yes.
acne, in terms of diseases, in terms of cancer,
Yes.
all this. We just,
Yes.
yeah, we suppress because it's this whole societal uh like the whole societal norm. I think that will be crumbling with the Aquarian energies, because they're the, I mean, as you say, it's all about authenticity.
It
You get it
is.
real, and 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 you can be free. There's no more judging as long as you're ethical. I think that's the whole thing that is a big,
Yes. Yep.
especially with all the technological developments and using more AI. It's a fine thing. And I think also redundant employees that have only been coming for the paycheck, and they're just basically sucking out the employer, and
Yep.
not bringing the, they don't bring their essence to the job. They
No.
have become numb. And so those jobs, those kind of jobs, I think will be replaced by AI.
Oh, wow. And
But
then
then,
and yeah, and I've worked with people who have said, my job is sucking my soul because their
mhm,
essence is being, it's not being nourished,
yeah,
right? They're
yeah,
not, there's a square peg in a round hole,
yeah.
right?
I worked for a gymnastics school in Northern California for a while, and that owner, she was really conscious. And so we sat together and we figured like, what are our best employees? And we thought about what qualities, what characteristics we wanted, like yeah, being on time, being dedicated, and having a heart, being ethical, and and all those good qualities that we wished for. And then we developed a questionnaire, and an invitation, like
Oh, wow.
an interview questionnaire, and that was a big help already. So you could really eliminate the people that are not, they just wanted to take it advantage, or so they are just seeing the job, and but not the being part of the company. And we had also regular meetings, regular staff meetings, and I think that is important for creating the feeling of togetherness, asking
Yes.
input from everyone. So that is Aquarian. That is like really
Yes.
making everyone equally important, because it's really, they're only different. They have other qualities than maybe the boss or the owner of the company has, but without the employees, it's an empty building in the end. So you need to make sure that your employees are well taken care of. And like tools, you wouldn't mess with your tools.
Exactly. I think, yeah, a lot of this, we can't always conceptualize what a conscious leader, how would they approach um, businesses these days, because we are in a transition, right? But if
Yeah.
you start pulling in these touch points of astrology, if you put authenticity,
Mhm.
bringing down the toxicity, I don't. I mean, I'm going to be even more bold about it, that I don't think environments would be so toxic if people actually just were allowed to be who they are.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it has to, I mean, it can all be in that, within that frame, right? To come together and you say
Right.
like, okay, you want to work in our company, so this is what we are about. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Can you deal with it? And the
Yeah.
person says, yes, absolutely, I'm totally in it. And
Yes.
then you're a go. But if the person says, let me sleep over it, and you feel already that they're not, I mean, I don't know. As I said, if you're in whatever, for example, you're like in an investigative business, and these are people that are like, I don't know, that's a bad example. That maybe better example would be, okay, hiring somebody Venusian and you are in a Martian business. So you are like
Yeah.
a
Wow.
mechanic industry. So I mean, it's hard to imagine that somebody that is very Venusian and artsy would thrive and feel really well placed in a mechanics shop. Even though I
Hmm.
have to now contradict myself and say, like, I know a mechanic, and in the meantime he runs that mechanic shop, but he is a photographer, and he
Oh,
takes black and white photography of
oh.
engine parts. So that is definitely an interesting
That is
expression
interesting.
of Venusian talent
Yeah.
within a mechanics shop.
Oh, I love that. That is so good. Um, what are we, so our, I guess to close, what our next talk will be about relationships.
Right, we said children, partners, and marriage. Those,
Yes, for
yeah,
February, for Valentine's Day, but
Valentine's. Right.
for every day. But I
Yeah,
guess, do you have like any closing thoughts about a conscious leader and what's
conscious leaders.
required?
Yeah, I would say, try to look at the future with a new set of like glasses, and be open for change. Be open for change, because we see that what happened in the past has not really worked, and it's not going to work anymore. So we are just, everything changes. So when we look at how vehicles transformed over time, we had horse, wagon, and buggies in the past, and those are just a thing of the past. And a lot of business probably went out of business, like hoofsmith and whatever. But there's always, I mean, there is transition, and we came right now in this time of ages that we are in right now to bring our piece to the puzzle and go through this. We are equipped to it.
Yeah, and I would close by saying that change is inevitable, and it would be easier in organizations if they are going through periods of change to really look at not only the talents of their employees, look at their astrological charts, look at to see how where their talents are. That doesn't mean you let them go. That means you may replace them in a different capacity within your organization.
Yes.
And you have to, and once they are well placed in their organization, you will have a more authentic group of people working with the personalities of a Gemini and a Virgo, for example, working together towards a common purpose. So
Mhm.
generally, change is coming. It's happened. It's already
Yeah,
happening. People don't like it because it's outside of their comfort zone. But I would say anything outside of the comfort zone is worth exploring, especially
absolutely.
astrology.
Amen to that. Absolutely. I underline that. That's perfect. Yeah, awesome.
Okay, so I will send over the recording once it's
Mhm.
registered, and then we'll meet February 17th, I think.
Yes, February. I think we said 21st.
21st, yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Yes, you too, and everything else as well. You're doing well.
Yeah, can't complain. It's a lot of projects. The good Gemini gets a lot of projects on her plate, but too
Yeah,
much right now. I think I should be more thoughtful about not overloading. It's
I know.
about quality and not quantity. So I'm working off a lot of projects, and but it's all good. It's all good. I mean, I have been asking for it, and sometimes life gives it to us like, bum bum, here you go.
Yeah, I love that. It sounds fun.
Yeah.
As long as you're having fun, I'm all for that
Yes.
stuff.
Yes, and we can change our mindset and looking at it. Okay, I like
Yeah,
it. I wanna
yeah,
I
exactly.
I asked for
Exactly.
it. How about
Well,
you?
thank you so much, and danke, and we'll talk again soon, and we'll use this link then, okay? From now,
Good.
from going for, I don't know
Good.
what,
Okay, so I will distribute it in my
it's coming.
circle. Sounds good.
Okay, danke.
All
Have a
right.
good week.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Thank
Okay.
you.